Guys, what's up? Nando here once again, talking about the Moto G5 Plus and likes and dislikes. Should you get it? Does it fit your checklist of a smartphone? Now, if you're new to the channel, I'd like to finish off with my final review with likes and dislikes. It's a little bit different than things to consider because I'm going to talk about more likes and more dislikes about the phone, things that may not sway you one way or the other as much as things to consider, but you should know about this phone because you know what, no device is perfect and some phones do have issues, some more than others, some stand out more than others, positively or negatively. Now, overall, should you consider this phone? Yes. Overall, is this a good phone? Yes. Overall, is this a phone that's going to compete with those flagships out there? No. Is this a phone that's going to compete with even the other mid-range phones out there? Maybe. Now, I'm going to start off by saying this. For $229 for the base model with 2 gigs of RAM, you get a very, very good phone. A phone with great battery life. If you've seen my previous videos, at least anywhere from 6 to 7 plus onwards screen on time. A phone with a decent camera. A phone with a decent build quality. Those are all likes about this phone. Things that when you hold it in hand, when you pick it up, when you pull it out of your pocket, if you know who Flossie Carter is, the floss factor, you know, in terms of budget phones, this phone feels good. In terms of budget phones, this phone looks good. And sometimes it even looks better than other phones out there. Me personally, I prefer this look. I prefer the build quality and the lack of fingerprints on this phone compared to like a Honor, whatever you call them, those Honor 8Xs and those X series Honors with the glassy, glossy backs. I prefer this. I prefer the camera hub, honestly. I like it. There's something about this big module right there in the back that looks very good to me. Now, things I don't like about this phone. Little minuscule thing, but why'd you take the dimple away, Motorola? Your finger just feels so good here. I'm not the first person to say it. I won't be the last. The dimple on the Motorola felt good, felt right, and it gave us a natural place to hold the phone when you're putting it to your hand, when you're using it. So they took that away, they raised it up, they slapped the Moto emblem right there, and boom, gone goes the dimple. Things I don't like about this phone. The volume rocker, the power button. So the power button does come with a little bit of a tactile feel to it. It does have a little bit of groove. It has some little sharp edges, not a lot, but enough to differentiate between the volume rocker. But what I don't like about them is the fact that they're mushy. They're not clicky. They're not satisfying. And if you slap a case on this phone, then the case is that much bigger than the phone, right? So it raises up. Then you're gonna have a hard time actually feeling these buttons because they're mushy. You're not going to just get to a snap, click, click, and get to the volume you desire. So I do not like that about these volume rockers. Now, I also don't like the fact that although they say that this phone turbocharges, it's not that fast. Honestly, it really isn't. I almost want to say that this thing compares to like a quick charge, the first gen maybe from Qualcomm, maybe second gen. But when they say the words turbocharged, and you got phones out there like the Huawei Mate 9, and you've got phones like Google with their faster quick charging, and Samsung with theirs and stuff like that. OnePlus, you're not turbocharging anything. You're charging faster than a phone without it. You're charging faster than an iPhone, but you're not getting anywhere that faster or that you're going to notice the difference between turbocharging or not. That's my take on it. The camera. Previous video I discussed that 12 megapixels is fine enough, but it over sharpens photos, and I don't like that. I don't like it because it looks like it's trying to overcompensate for some lack of details, and everything just seems so edged out and defined, almost cartoonish a little bit, and I don't like that. That's just my take on it. It's not a bad camera, but I do want to put it on some dislikes because 12 megapixel, we know it's not all about the pixels, but these days, once you start getting these mid-range phones, you start to see some phones with some dual camera combinations, some bokeh effects. Motorola just went with a standard module 12 megapixel camera, and to me leaves a little bit to be desired. A like of this phone, right up here, we have one speaker grill. We've got nothing on the bottom. We've got nothing else except for up top right here. And I love this speaker grill. I love it a lot. Matter of fact, for one, it's facing you. We all know that when you're consuming media, with the sound coming right at your face, it's so much more immersive and it's much more of a joy to experience. So this phone actually pops out a lot of volume for just one speaker, because I rarely have to push this phone more than halfway on the volume to get the sound I desire. So big thumbs up to Motorola for including a front-facing speaker with a lot of volume that's loud enough. You know, if you can't have the bass, if you can't have the depth of a really quality speaker, at least make it loud. You know, it sucks to go ahead and have to click, 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 and blast it to get, you know, even just average sound. So speakers a go. Fingerprint scanner, very impressive. Matter of fact, Motorola, in the past, you know, they started introducing those Moto features where they just keep the phone pretty stock, and then there's add a couple things that we think, or that they think we would enjoy as consumers. The home button to Motorola is like your one-stop shop. It's going to unlock your phone just by using it like a normal fingerprint scanner would. It's going to act as a back button because you can set it to swipe across the actual home button to go back. It's going to act as going home. You don't necessarily have to hit the on-screen home button, which is there in case you want to use it, but you can just tap it. It is going to go home. You can double tap it to do things, and you can even long press it to launch stuff like Google Assistant. So the home button, the fingerprint scanner, this one-stop shop approach by Motorola is a big plus in my opinion. Front-facing camera is nor a like nor a dislike. It's kind of right there in between. If you consider in the fact that this phone costs $229 for the base model, then sure, it might be a like. But if you look at the fact that it doesn't take that good of a photo, then it's going to be a dislike, honestly. Because sometimes the fact that these phones fall in the budget category, I think allows it to escape the criticism of a higher-end phone, and it allows it to kind of take in and reap some of the compliments that normally wouldn't get because it's in a low-budget phone category. Another thing to consider, and one of the things that I dislike about this phone and the fact that Motorola chose to go this way, is that they're forcing you to choose between a 2 gigabyte RAM option or a 4. And with that, it also decides whether you get 32 gigabytes of internal storage or 64. So you really have to decide, hey, is 2 gigabytes enough storage? Or I should say 2 gigabytes enough RAM for how I use my phone, or do I need the 4? Now, it's not that big of a price jump to go to the 4 gigs of RAM, but it is. You go $299 for the 4 gigs and you're looking at $229. A lot of people, when they're on a budget, for a budget smartphone, they're going to go with the 2 gigs of RAM because they're saving money. Now, personally, I experienced some moments where I wish I had the 4 gigs of RAM because constantly I had to close out all my apps, and sometimes I even had to restart the phone to clean up that cache. And that's something that I haven't had to experience in any previous phone, even on iPhones with their 1 gigs of RAM. It's just not very optimized, and again, that can fall on Google with Android because this phone is very stock. Many times I would, usually I watch YouTube before I fall asleep. For example, I watch YouTube, I send some texts out, I read the news, catch up on sports, go to bed. When I wake up in the morning, I kind of do the same thing to get my day started, see what I missed out while I slept, and that's when I noticed that this phone would be lagging behind. Certain apps wouldn't load, YouTube would sit there forever and act like as if you signed off, but you didn't. If you were trying to open an app, it would crash another. So that's a limitation by the 2 gigs of RAM on this model. And you're not going to have that, and you're probably not going to have that if you go for the 4 gig RAM option. So I'm going to put that as a dislike because I wish that Motorola just said, hey, you know what? They come standard with 4 gigs of RAM at a budget smartphone price, and then you want to jump in internal storage, now pay for that jump in internal storage. That's my take on it, but hey, I don't work for Motorola. Now, I like about this phone, it does include expandable storage, so good for Motorola for doing that. Slap on a bigger micro SD card in here and you've got, boom, that much more storage. And guys, that's basically it in a nutshell. I like to keep my reviews pretty straightforward, pretty user-focused. I don't want to spit out specs and spit out this simulated experience. I used this phone for a little over a week, and while I use this phone, it has not caught any scratches. I barely put a case on it. I'm very careful with my phones. The screen is decent quality. I'm going to put it on the dislike section. If you watch my previous video where I talked about things to consider, I think it could be better. It's not bright enough. That's a bit of an annoyance, especially outside. I got to blast the brightness, and I still wish it could go even, brighter than that. Another thing that I kind of don't like about this phone is that the screen, if you actually run your finger across the screen, you can almost like take your nail and like kind of catch the edge, where it almost is like certain parts of it here on the side. The bottom, not so much, but on the top portion, like especially right here on the top left, you can even see it. The lip, it like lips up a little too high. I don't know why that is, because it doesn't happen at the bottom of the phone. And it happens only on certain portions of it. Because here in the center, I can run my finger across, and I'm not actually going to feel that lip, but on the top portion I do, and on the bottom I do as well. I don't like that. It just, to me, feels like it's a little cheap. It feels like it was a little rushed. It's a little hard to slap on a screen protector that way too. So there's one thing to keep in mind. But all in all, for $229 as the base model, the Moto G5 Plus is a solid phone. It is a very good phone. If you're someone looking for a very good phone in this kind of price range, definitely consider this phone. I'm not going to say run out and buy it. If you care about battery life more than anything, possibly buy this one, because I don't think there's any other phone out there that's going to beat 6+ hours of battery life like this phone does. But if you do have a little bit more money to spend and you're creeping into the $300 range, etc., especially the $299, like that Axon 7 Mini, or even the full-on Axon, or some other Honor phones out there from Huawei, consider those as well. But also consider this phone by Motorola. It looks good, it performs well, and it's just a solid phone overall. So there you have it, guys. My final review on the Moto G5 Plus. My likes and my dislikes. If you agree or disagree with any of this, please leave them in the comment section below, because that's how people learn and get to decide on the best device for themselves. I will go ahead and link this phone in the description through Amazon. Matter of fact, this phone works with Amazon in their kind of like ad thing that they got going on. So if you don't mind ads running across your homepage and that helps you save some money, go ahead and buy this off of Amazon. I considered I didn't do it because I have a Best Buy that's really close to my house, and I just wanted to get it right then and there. But that is something that they do. Matter of fact, the price that I spent on this phone, $229, I could have gotten on Amazon the 4 GB RAM option for $229, but it would include the ads. So check that out on Amazon. And hey, subscribe if you haven't already. Thumbs up this video if you agree with some of the things I've said. And I'll catch you guys in the next video. It was Nando. I'm out. Peace.